Well, there's the tweet that everyone's talking about. Every podcaster, wrestling YouTuber, anyone who does any kind of content at all about wrestling, myself included, even though I'm under the fucking weather. I had an ear infection for what appeared to be months on end, according to my clinician. And now I had a cold. I got a cold because of the antibiotics I was taking. Messed up my immune system. But let's do some wrestling content. I'm going to do a Remembers video also. Probably, shit, might have to be directly after this. About Canadian Stampede and Raw 1000. But before I do that, let's talk about Vince McMahon retiring from WWE. This is one thing that I have to believe. I'll believe it when I see it, when I actually physically see it. Because retirement, in and of itself, as a concept, especially in wrestling, doesn't really exist anymore. Okay, I follow in the business, financial, etc. space. I follow guys who say that they, retired in their mid-30s, meaning they didn't do any, they didn't work for a living, and then they got bored and they didn't like it, so they went back. They created a business from it. You know what I mean? But my mom and stepdad are both retired, but my stepdad especially, he does stuff on TaskRabbit. He has a TaskRabbit account, and he walks around his neighborhood and fixes stuff for his neighbors, and he makes a little bit of side money doing that. But he's retired. He collects retirement checks and other stuff like that. My mom's same way. Like she will watch over some animals that my neighbors have, and feed them and stuff. Even though it's hard even though she's practically disabled, she gets around with a scooter, but she does that. You know what I mean? And so the concept of retirement really isn't. It's not as transparent as it used to be. It's very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Thinking is hard when you're sick. It's a suspect phrase, okay? And this is what before we all orgasm our pants about this, one, there's a lot more to WWE than just Vince McMahon, okay? Like, if anyone, here's what you should expect from this, and here's what I believe what will happen to WWE by 2030, okay? In the next 8 years, okay? And this is going to include a little bit of my opinion on the outside world, a little bit of social opinions on social stuff that's going on. I don't know what else to call it, about just the world in general, especially the Western world. So if you're taken aback from any of that, I apologize. Just my opinions. That's about it. So here's what you should expect from WWE moving forward after this, or what you should not expect. Do not expect this to magically improve WWE's programming, okay? Their TV shows are still going to be extremely predictable. The promo segments are still going to be very scripted. In fact, probably more scripted going into the future than they are currently, okay? And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So keep that in mind. Yeah, you can tell I'm not in a good way here. Ugh. Anyways, you should not expect WWE to start bringing in new guys and pushing them and stuff like that Austin Theory is the Money in the Bank guy. He probably is going to win the WWE title at some point. No, he's not. He's going to cash in and fail against Roman Reigns. WWE is going to have... Roman Reigns is pretty much going to be the new Bruno Sammartino. As long as there is a bone in Roman Reigns' body that allows him to perform in wrestling matches, they're gonna aim for him to keep those unified titles. Maybe not as long as Bruno, but he's gonna be like the second longest. Okay, if he isn't there already, I think he is there already. It's been almost 2 years since he won the Universal Championship, so they're gonna have him probably keep that Universal Championship probably until maybe WrestleMania 40 or something like that. I don't know. So do not expect WWE to just start improving immediately. Okay? Just don't. Because it doesn't have an incentive to. Okay? Why does WWE not have an incentive to improve their programming or anything else for the fans? It's because 2 years ago we had a little thing called the C-19 pandemic, okay? Or the C-19 restrictions, okay? So for a year and a half, WWE, they didn't need to do any shows in front of any fans or nothing like that, and they reported a lot of profit. Okay, in fact, it was I think the second quarter of 2020 was their most profitable quarter in a long time. So WWE don't need to put don't need to put asses in seats anymore. They literally do not need to do that. They proved that during a time when everything was really, really, really bad for everything in the Western world. And WWE was sitting pretty, okay? Their sponsors have way more money than any any group of any fans will ever possess. Okay, this isn't the territory era anymore. This isn't 40, 50 years ago where it was WWF and it was in the northwestern or northeastern territory, and they needed to make sure that they had a lot of paid attendance for their next show, which was in whatever in a high school gym, in a gymnasium, in civic centers and stuff like that. They don't need to fill any of those venues. If you believe that McMahon retiring is going to help and improve WWE programming to your standards, if you believe that's going to happen, even if you want that to happen, even if that's part of your desire, not an expectation of yours, then prepare to be very, very, very disappointed, okay? Oh, but Triple H is going to come in. Paul Levesque's going to come in, and he's going to make things like NXT was. No, he's not. No, he's not. And I'm going to tell you why he's not. Because it used to be fans first, then sponsors. Now it's for WWE. Now for WWE, it is sponsors before fans. WWE has to please the sponsors who give them way more money than any fans do before any fan. Okay? So if they make decisions that fans don't like having a 46-year-old Brock Lesnar challenge against Roman Reigns for the title again. That's why he left, because he stopped caring. Because if I'm Brock Lesnar and I'm 46 years old, I'm complacent as fuck. It's like when Taz left ECW in 1999. Yeah, he was sitting pretty with the title, but he was like, what else is there for me to do? Yeah, well, let me just go somewhere else then. Have it being the ECW championship on default. It's kind of stupid, kind of boring. So that's what Lesnar's thinking. That's why he left. I know that's another thing, but I think McMahon retiring is the bigger event here. Anyways, yeah. So now, what's going to happen to WWE in the next 8 or so years? So in 8 years, McMahon will be 85. He might not be alive. We'll see. I'm hoping he lives until the triple digits, but I mean, that's just, that's how it goes. I mean, we don't all live forever, and he may not be around in 2030. Now, no one's wishing for that, obviously, but so that could happen. WWE could possibly sell their business to any other massive corporate entertainment group, Disney being one of them. Let's see, NBC, Comcast, obviously. Like, the more that, and you're going to see that when it comes to corporations and entertainment in general. Entertainment's starting to become monopolized, and it's starting to become monopolized by Disney and by NBC, Comcast, and other massive corporations who can, they can dodge whatever regulations that governments impose on them. So WWE was able to kind of do that for a long time, but ever since they started getting these big sponsors, now they're going to have to bend to those kinds of wills, and that, to me, is why Vince McMahon retired, because it's not what it used to be. Not like it was 25 years ago, where he was had played that rebel role of like, I'm not going to bend to the wills of regulations and stuff like that, and we're going to try and fill seats with fans, and I'm going to fight federal government with the steroid trial and stuff like that. McMahon has no incentive to do any of that anymore, and I believe that's what led him to retire. So that's what's going to happen to WWE in the next 8 or so years. A lot of fans are also saying that, TV 14 is coming back, so now it's going to be just like it was in the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression era. No, you're not going to have that anymore. Okay, 20 years ago, during Ruthless Aggression, McMahon was still in his mid 60s or in his late 50s, early 60s. So he was still booking the shows. He was still, using his whatever he considers creativity, which is, yeah. Anyways, so and you don't want things to go back to that. But if you're going to sit around and say that WWE is going to magically get better after this, then I'm not going to flat out tell you you're wrong, but I'm also not going to sit here and say that it's going to happen. All I can say is that time's going to tell. Time will tell, okay? So keep that in mind. I gotta keep this short because the more I talk, the worse I feel. So let me go ahead and get out of here. Yeah, this is the end of an era. It's the end of a legend. Holy Christ. And wow. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Okay? Take care, everybody. See you in I'll see you in Joseph Remembers, which I should be doing pretty soon. I'm probably going to do it right after this, actually. Take care.